On pain. I have never trusted the clean people, the ones who say I'm fine without a tremor, whose voices have never known the taste of ash. I don't trust their quiet, their neatness, their steady hands. The people I trust are the ones who've been dragged backwards through a field of thorns and still showed up for work. People whose stories don't make sense at first, because pain has torn out whole chapters. Pain, my dear friend, is not the enemy. Nor is it some heroic test to be aced by those strong enough to grit their teeth and bear it. Pain is the evidence of impact. It's the echo left behind after something collides with the human soul. And believe me, everything eventually collides with the human soul. Now, I don't write this as a theorist of pain, nor as a philosopher, nor a poet. I write as someone who has walked the long hallway of night and who has learned that pain, while unbearable, is also entirely survivable, though not without cost. You see, the modern world has done a disservice to pain. It has cast it as the aberration, the malfunction, the glitch in the system. Doctors rush to erase it, friends to silence it, therapists to reframe it. But pain is no accident. Pain is a language. And like all true languages, it must be learned before it can be spoken. Most never learn it because they are too busy trying to shut it up. Let us begin, then, with what I consider the first truth. Pain does not lie. Everything else does. The news lies, the market lies, your smile lies, but pain tells the truth in the marrow. It bypasses all pretension and breaks straight into the core of things. When a man is in pain, you meet his real self. There are no false selves in agony, only stripped-down beings with nothing left to barter. Pain speaks when everything else is silent. It shows up when joy has skipped town, when certainty has grown tired of pretending, and when faith has gone missing. Pain does not ask permission. It does not knock. It does not wait. It arrives like a jealous god and demands sacrifice. And I have given it sacrifice. There was a year, I think it was a Tuesday that stretched into a year, when I could no longer recognize myself in the mirror. Pain had restructured my bones. Not just the physical pain, though that too had its part. No, this was something deeper, something woven into the nerves of being, the kind of pain that doesn't just make you ache but makes you different, the kind that alters your signature, the kind that rewrites you. The loss had come suddenly, but the grief was slow. That's how it works. Pain is never punctual. It doesn't knock you down all at once. It takes its time, carves you in stages. First your words, then your appetite, then your sleep, then finally your reasons. I stopped showing up to things. I stopped remembering what it meant to get better. The people around me grew uneasy. They kept asking if I was okay, and I kept lying because they wanted the lie. People always do. I became a ghost with a mailbox. I paid bills on time. I went to work. I even laughed sometimes, but behind every moment was the undertow of pain, a tide that pulled at me every night, and I began to suspect that maybe pain wasn't a visitor. Maybe pain had moved in. And here's the thing that no one tells you. If you let pain live with you long enough, it teaches you things. It begins to show you the hidden rooms of the house, the passageways you never noticed, the stories buried under your skin. Pain is an excavator. It digs through the foundation until it finds the original wounds. And there's always an original wound. The first time I tasted real pain, I was 10 years old. My dog died. And no, it wasn't just a dog. His name was Cooper, and he was the first creature I ever loved who didn't require me to perform. He didn't need me to succeed or make sense. He just needed me to show up. When he died, I learned what it meant to be punished by absence. Pain taught me that love always costs something, and that grief is just love that has nowhere to go. You learn early that pain is tied to love. The more you love, the more vulnerable you become to its departure. And most of us, after enough departures, start to close the door on love entirely. We call it maturity. We call it being guarded. But really it's just prophylactic living. We are trying to get through life without getting infected. But life is an infection, and pain is the symptom that tells us we're still alive. I've watched people try to outwit pain. Some try distraction, fill the calendar, binge the show, drink the bottle. Others try transcendence, meditate, fast, leave the country. Still others use philosophy like a shield. They think if they can name the pain correctly, it will vanish. It won't. Pain is not solved. It is carried. There are no techniques that make it disappear. There is only presence. There is only the ability to stay inside the fire without flinching. Most can't do it. They reach for the extinguisher too quickly. But the fire has its work. The fire is the teacher. Pain teaches humility. Pain teaches slowness. Pain teaches compassion. Because once you've been cracked open, you start to notice the cracks in others. You stop asking what's wrong with them, and start asking where did it hurt them. You stop believing in broken people and start seeing broken stories. If you want to know someone, don't ask them what they do. Don't ask where they're from. Ask them where it hurt. Ask them who left. Ask them what they lost and never told anyone about. You'll see them then. You'll really see them. Now, I don't romanticize pain. I'm not here to glorify it. Pain has nearly killed me more than once. It has driven good people to the edge of bridges and bad people into great careers. Pain is not noble. It's just honest. But pain, if endured with the right kind of company, can become something else, something strangely luminous. Let me say something here, and I hope you'll hear it in the spirit it's offered. Pain can become sacred, not in the way that we glorify suffering, but in the way that we recognize the divine passing through us in our weakest hour. Pain strips us down to the holy. It returns us to the altar of the real. No more pretending, no more performance. Just you, your wound, and the silence between sobs. And if there is someone there with you, really there, not trying to fix it, not offering advice, just offering presence, then pain becomes the birthplace of communion, of connection, of the kind of fellowship that cannot be faked. Years ago, I sat with a friend whose child had died. Nothing I said could touch the enormity of what he was feeling. So I stopped trying to say anything. I just sat. I think we sat for 4 hours. I said only 3 words the whole time: I'm not leaving. That's all I had. That's all he needed. Pain doesn't need an answer. It needs a witness. And that has changed how I live. I no longer search for people who are happy. I search for people who know how to sit, who know how to be with, who can remain when the story turns brutal. We don't need more advice. We need more presence. Some days pain returns to me like a familiar visitor. It knocks, and I know I must make room again. Not because I failed, not because I've regressed, but because pain is a cycle, not a straight line. Healing is a spiral. We return to the same wound over and over, each time with a little more clarity, a little more grace. I no longer fight it. I no longer run. When pain visits, I light a candle. I make a cup of tea. I let the silence settle in, and I listen, because pain still has things to teach me, and I am still becoming. So what is pain? Pain is the cost of loving in a world that forgets. Pain is the echo of care. Pain is the fracture that reveals the structure. Pain is not the enemy of life. It is the mark that life has touched you. To feel pain is to be included in the mystery. And that, I suppose, is the final thing I have to say. If you're in pain, you are not outside the circle. You are not forgotten. You are not excluded. You are in the company of the initiated. You are seated at the oldest table in the world, the one where we pass stories in the dark, where we weep and remember, where we hold one another's hands until the morning comes. This is the fellowship of the hurting. This is the brotherhood of the broken open.